Hi, my name is Jenny Pitts. I'm the Work-Based Learning Coordinator at Cook High School, and I just want to welcome you to being in the Work-Based Learning program this year. We're going to go over a little bit of information about the class. This is for the parents and the students. The first thing I want to do is just talk to you a little bit about the agenda that we're going to go over. So you can see here all the different things. First off, I'm going to keep this to under 30 minutes if I can, or at least as close to it. You can go back and look at it as much as you want to. The program overview. What is work-based learning? Back in the day, it was just called co-op, and it was when people were able to leave school to go out and work in the workforce. Well, now it is more of the experiences that connect the student's career to their classroom. So it is different than what it used to be because it's more geared towards what the student wants to do in the future. Students connect what they learn in the classroom with what they do in the work site. So it gives a good transition in from high school all the way into college if that's what you do, or into the workforce. Um, One thing that's real good about this nowadays is that the employers realize that they're young and that they're trying to help the students prepare for their future. Uh, I just I think it's a great opportunity for students to get one leg up on their competition because we all heard the story that you got to have a job to get a job, and this gives students work experience so that they can learn work ethics in a positive environment. The program requirements, the very first thing that everybody has to do in order to be in the work-based learning program is the student must first complete the application. This application can be found on the Cook High School website. And then once you've completed the application, there are four things that come into sharing. And I'm going to have to move me. I'm going to put me up here in the top right hand corner so you can see everything. Um, the first thing is the coursework. So the student is going to not only go out and work in the work environment, but they're also going to have taken at least one CTAE class offered in our school system so that it can relate to the position that they're working in while in high school. The discipline and attendance, the student must be at least 16 years of age and a junior or a senior status and on track for graduation, and also have a minimum of at least a 2.0 GPA. With the application and grades, once you've completed the application, you also have to be in good standing with discipline and attendance because if you can't come to school, you can't go to work. So attendance is very good. And discipline, you need to have good discipline because you are representing Cook High School when you're out in the community. The student must also have reliable transportation. Students are not supposed to ride with other students. If they don't have a transportation, they need to have someone pick them up here at the high school and take them to and from their work site. Okay? The next thing I'd like to discuss is the stakeholder responsibilities. So there are stakeholders' responsibilities in this learning process. The student must be a productive, responsible employee. They must show up, be on time, and do their job. That's what employers want. They need to take the initiative. Don't just sit there and wait for somebody to tell you what to do. I understand when you first start out your first job, you're scared and you might want to sit back and ask people what you need to do. But after you've been there a while, you need to start taking that initiative. If you see something that needs to be done, just do it. You don't necessarily have to ask. Um, what I'm the teacher, the coordinator, I'm the liaison between the student and the mentor. So, in other words, what I do is if the student's having a problem, I go out and talk to the mentor. If the mentor's having a problem, I bring the student in. We are there to help one another get the best opportunity for your students. Parents are asked not to contact the mentors by any stretch of the imagination. Now, if a student is too scared to come to me for some reason or embarrassed or whatever, if the parent wanted to call me, that would be great. And then I can open the conversation with the student. Um, the mentor's responsibility is that they're going to educate the student and teach them work ethics, proper work ethics, soft skills that are so important on the um, work site nowadays. Soft skills are what gets you fired. So the showing up, the being on time, the being responsible, doing your job, that kind of stuff. And so hopefully the mentor is there to help that smooth transition from school to work. There are three different kind of work placements. There's in the essential skills development. The second one is internship, and the third one is the youth apprenticeship. These are the ones that we use here at Cook High School. Just to tell you a little bit about it, this is all behind the scenes that I have to report to the state of Georgia. The students don't necessarily um, really know which one they are unless they're youth apprenticeship. But the essential skills development, what that is the student has to take a CTAE class to be in the work-based learning program. And if they haven't done it prior to getting into the program, they have to do it while they're in the program. But let's just say a student um, takes a job at a fast food restaurant, but they're in the healthcare science pathway. For example, for placement number one, this job is not in that pathway. They take a healthcare science class and they're in fast food, and their future career is they want to be a nurse. So I would place them in the essential skills development. They're learning the essential skills that are needed on every work site, but they're not really in their pathway. The second one is kind of an internship. That one is a student who is in the field of pathway, like an ag student who works on the farm, but their future career is they want to be a lawyer. So they would be placed in the internship. The third program is the youth apprenticeship. Now this is the pinnacle of the situation. This is the where we want everybody to be. That is a job that is in the field with their pathway. So in other words, that'd be like an education student who is working at the pre-K extended day and they want to be a future teacher. So the teacher I will be tracking this student for up to 5 years to find out if they do post-secondary education and or post-secondary training of any kind to see if they become a teacher. If they are, then they are a youth apprenticeship completer. All right. The school release times. Everybody wants to know when you're going to get out. Well, or how many hours you have to work. The least amount of hours you have to work is 7.5 hours per week per class that you're released. So if you're released one block, it's 7.5 hours per week. Two blocks, 15 hours a week. Three blocks, it's 22.5 hours per week. Now, um, the release times are based around the student's academic responsibilities. So when the counselors are scheduling the classes, they are going to schedule what they academically need first. Then they're going to fit in the work-based learning where they can. Now these are the minimum number of hours that the student needs to work. They can work up to as many as they can during the week and not interfere with their studies. The employers pay the students, not me. I am not their boss. I am not their employer, but the students are. So if they're not getting paid correctly or something like that, they need to come to me and I can talk to the mentor, but the company itself is the one that's going to pay the students. Students can be released 1, 2, or 3 periods depending on what they need to graduate. And when they do the classwork, the same grade will be for all 3 classes. So if by chance they're released 2 blocks and one class is a 93 and the other one is a 95, the student needs to let me know that I've made a mistake because they should be the same grade for all work-based learning classes. The Google Classroom. This is the platform in which all the student assignments are going to be. The Google Classroom code for 2020 and 2021 is listed in the top right-hand corner of this screen. One thing that we are doing this year is we are really encouraging parents to be involved in their students' education because of COVID-19. Some students are not in the classroom every day or not coming to school every day. And so we want to push out notifications to the parents also so that they can keep things on track. In order to do that, I need to have every parent's I need to have at least one parent's email for every student so that we can communicate. In order to do that, the link right here is the link where the form is. I have sent this to all the students and they were supposed to fill out this form, but if you have not filled out this form, you need to do so. What is included in this email that the parents will also get, they'll get notifications of missing work, upcoming work to let you know when things are coming, and any of the class activities like announcements and assignments and things like that that would be posted on the Google Classroom. So the students are very encouraged to have their parents sign up for the Google Classroom. But all assignments will be located in this area. If you need help with how to do the Google Classroom as a parent, there is a video on my Google Classroom to help parents kind of understand the ins and outs of Google Classroom. The Remind app is something else that we strongly encourage everybody to sign up with because what I will do is I will send out a remind to students because it comes on their text and parents that says something like, I just sent you an email, so go check your email. Because we know that students are connected to their phones 24/7, just like most adults are nowadays. But in order to sign up for the Remind, in the top left-hand corner of this screen, you'll see that you need to text at CHS WBL 21 to the number 81010. Now, what I do is I'll send out upcoming work, school-wide announcements, and it's also instant communication. So if a student will save that number to their phone as my name, then if they have a problem, they can always communicate quickly with me, like, Ms. Pitts, I need to do, I have football practice after school today and I won't be at work when they were generally supposed to be at work or something like that. And then I can quickly email it back or text it back. By using the Remind app, it is staying in memory and I'm not having to keep all these texts to be able to keep notifications, not notifications, but um, documentation of all the texts and stuff. So I prefer that everybody use the Remind app in order to connect with me if you're going to use text. Parents, if you're going to communicate with me, I'd prefer that you use the email. And the email is down there. It's just jpitts@cook.k12.ga.us. All right, my grading policy for work-based learning. As you can see by this scale right here, 75% of the grading relies on the student. Actually, 100% really lies on it because all this, I'm going to go with this, I'm going to start with the top and work all the way down. The student assignments are 75%. When they finish these assignments, they will have an electronic portfolio that they will be able to download and be able to take out to employers and say, look how smart I am and all the things that I've done in work-based learning. Because in these assignments, we're going to be covering soft skills, we're going to be covering hard skills. Soft skills like how do you present yourself on social media. Hard skills like doing resumes, writing thank you letters after doing a resume. Um, Things like this. That's the kind of assignments that will be in the Google Classroom. Now, their time cards, going on over to the left a little bit, your time cards will be reporting their number of hours they have worked, and it will also be documentation of them getting paid or the number of hours they worked in a non-paid position, but their employer will have to sign that. Then their employer evaluations are going to be completed by their employer, but it does not affect their grade at all how they get graded by their employer. And the reason why I say that is because I have learned over the times that some people grade really, really easy, some people grade really, really hard, and that doesn't, it's not equal. So the only grade that the student gets is do they turn it in at the time that they're supposed to or not. Um, but the employer will be grading them on their employability traits, like do they show up on time, are they dressed appropriately, do they leave their cell phone in the car, and also their training plans. Their training plans will be individualized for each student. So somebody who works at a fast food restaurant will have a different training plan than somebody who works at the farm, who has a different one that works at the schools, etc. And then the last one down there is a daily school work-in attendance. So every single day, Monday through Friday, regardless to um, if the student works or comes to school or is doing online school or whatever, but every single day, Monday through Friday, the student must sign in through a Google form stating if they work or if they don't work. We'll go over that a little bit more. Now, here's the most important thing about my grading policy is 10 points will be deducted for each day any assignment is late. So if it's all assignments, every single assignment that I have for work-based learning will be due on the 10th or the last day of the month. Those are the two dates that they're due. So every month on the 10th, regardless if it falls on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, a holiday, spring break, whatever, every single month except for the month of August and the month of January because we're not in school, um, close enough to be able to do that, will be due on the 10th of every month. And so if they turn it in on the 11th, then they start with the 90. If they turn it in on the 12th, they start with an 80, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the lowest I will go is 50. So in other words, if they're 5 days late, the highest grade they can make is a 50, and then I start taking points off for any errors or anything like that. So it is very, very important that students learn to turn things in on time. I tell them all the time, punctuality and responsibility are two of the things that I am trying to teach these students. And being late is not good. If you had a deadline at work, you can't be late for a deadline. You've got to turn it in. So they have a whole month, and all my assignments are up there for the entire year. So they can go ahead and start doing them pre. They don't have to wait until the night at 11:50 to start working on the work. Okay, the next thing is the student attendance. So I'm breaking it down a little bit now. This is going to be a form in Google Classroom. The students can make a shortcut on their phone. That's what I do when I have to sign in. I do a shortcut on my phone and I sign in every day. All that's going to say on there is, are they working? And I'll give you an example. So the questions that they will have to answer on this form is their name, which is already typed in, and then which learning model are they participating in today. And the reason why I did it that way is because you may start out doing traditional, but you may have to turn around and do traditional hybrid if we have to go to yellow or something like that for um, this COVID-19 stuff that's going on. Or the student may be doing E3, or they may just be going to college the entire time. All right, then you've got further on down, are you absent or sick? So that means that you were not planning on being absent today, that you woke up, you had a fever, and so you're out. Or the next one down is absent and planned. So in other words, you were absent from school because you knew that you were going to the doctor, or you had an eye appointment, or you were supposed to go um, to something for a family reunion or something like that, but you knew it was planned. And then the last one down there is a gold slip. So if you are going on a school trip, you would put gold slip. And then the next question would be, do you work today? That you weren't scheduled to work today, or that you were absent because you called in to work sick. So again, if you're too sick to go to school, you're too sick to go to work. Now, if you had a planned doctor's appointment, you can still go to work that afternoon because it was planned. So if you have any more questions about this, feel free to come and ask me. Here is the QR code that will take you straight to that questionnaire, and the student is going to do that every single day, Monday through Friday, if we are in school that day. If it's a holiday like Labor Day, the student doesn't have to do it on Monday because we're not in school. So this is their attendance for school. The reason why I do that is so that I can find out if I need to go out and see the student. So I'd like for this to be done by noon every afternoon. And the reason why is because if at 2 o'clock I'm like, I'm going to run into town and let's see if Johnny's going to be at work today. And I can pull this form up. Johnny's at work, so I'm going to go see Johnny at work today. All right, and there's also the Google Classroom link if you don't know how to do the QR code. But to do any QR code, all you got to do is turn on your camera on your phone, point it at it, and the QR link will come up. So there's the attendance login. I would strongly suggest the students go ahead and put it on their home page of their computer. I'm sorry, of their phone. And it can be done on a computer at any point in time. So if a student does not have a phone, they are more than welcome to come to my classroom every day. There will be a computer logged in, and all they have to do is log in that way. All right, work attendance. If a student is too sick to go to school, they're too sick to go to work. So the student needs to make sure that when they're too sick, they call their employer before they're scheduled to work. Don't just not show up. And you'd be surprised at how many people would just not show up. Oh, well, I was sick and I was, not able to go to work today. And you try to tell them the next day. You always need to make sure that your employer knows that you're unable to come to work that day if you're too sick. Also, if you know that you're unable to come to work in advance, like you have a doctor's appointment, you need to ask off prior to the day that you're going to be absent. Try not to wait till the day of or the day before. Try to give them at least some advance notice so that they know that you're not going to come in. The students are responsible for contacting the employers when they're missing work, not the parents. Again, we're trying to put the responsibility back on the students, not the parents. Ask an employer how they want to be notified. Sometimes your mentor just says, text me. Some of them don't want that. They want a phone call. So you need to make sure that you find out how your employer wants you to contact them for absences. All right. If a student is absent from traditional school or dual enrollment, that means that they were supposed to be on campus and they don't report to the job site, they cannot go to school. Too sick to go to school, too sick to go to work. If you have a doctor's appointment, it's different. That means that it's planned. Just go tell your employer that you may be late or that you may be missing or whatever. But it is the student's responsibility to email me to explain why he or she is absent from school. So, in other words, um, if you're too sick and you're laying in bed and you got 105 fever or whatever, then have the parent call me. But if you're just kind of a little queasy, you need to let me know by lunch while you are not at school. Um, any student on campus during release time, so if you are a student who gets out during fourth block and goes to work, but you've decided that you need to stay because you got cheerleading practice, you need to email me and let me know why you're on campus and where you are. And the reason why is because you will be considered AWOL if you are on campus without permission prior to. Because I have had students in the past get in a fight or something like that, or be in a location that they weren't supposed to be in. And so the administration comes to me and says, well, was Johnny supposed to be here today? And I'm like, I don't know. He was supposed to be at work. So just like you could be AWOL if you're off campus and you're a regular student and you're not supposed to be, you can be AWOL if you're on campus and you're not supposed to be. We need to find out who's on campus and who's not. Also, it's very important to try to schedule your appointments outside of your school hours or your work hours. So work around when it would be best to go to any of these appointments. The employer evaluation is 10% of your grade. One of the things, and they'll be done every 9 weeks at the end of the 9 weeks. One of them is an example of this over here, which is the employee ability traits. As you see, these are the soft skills. Do they use time wisely? Do they cooperate with others? Do they take the initiative? Do they work in the proper attire? All right, so this is one of them that every student will get. The other one is the training plan, like I spoke of earlier. It is geared towards what the student does at their job. Now, the only way that a student is going to get a grade from this is if they turn it in on the due date. So they'll either make 100, a 90, a 80, a 70, or 60, or a 50. Depends on if they turn it in on time. The purpose of this is so that the mentor can sit down with the student and talk to them about what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong in their work site and how they can improve what they're doing. The time card and pay stubs, this is an example of what the students will be completing. It is in Google spreadsheets. They'll use the same one every month. This is the month of August. They'll put their name at the top. They'll put their work site information, and then they'll put the times in and out of when they'll go to work. So this will be due on the 10th of every month for the previous month. So in other words, this one would be due September 10th for the month of August. And the reason why is so that they can have the whole month done. At the bottom down there, you see that there is an employer signature. So on the 10th, they need to upload this by the 10th, but they also need to have printed it out, taken it to their employer, and have it signed, and also upload a picture of what it's signed, as it's signed. Um, so these are due again on the 10th of every month. The assignments are also, every single one of them are due on the 10th. As you see, we have employability skills. These are assignments that help get the job, the resume, the thank you letter, the cover letter. Then you have soft skills, assignments that help keep the job. Tell the importance of how being responsible in a work site. Then every month the students will have a reflections, and that will be a video of them talking about like maybe the first day of their school, first day of work, or a conflict that they might have had at work without using names or something like that. And then there are other general assignments like posting on social media where they work or something like that to promote the work-based learning program in our community. The required forms that the students will print out from the Google Classroom are the training agreement, the student information, worksite information, safety training agreement, sexual harassment, confidentiality agreement, and the training plan. Now, over here on the right, you can see who has to sign each one of those forms. When the student prints it out, they can go ahead and take it to their mentor or the parent, look over all the information and all that. All the forms can be found on the Google Classroom and can be picked up in my classroom. So if you don't have access to a printer, you can always come to my classroom and print all day long. Whenever your release period is, just swing by my room and print out whatever you need to do. Job changes, being fired or being laid off. Okay. First off, there is no job hopping in the work-based learning program. Um, Student who is fired, first off, we hope nobody's ever fired. I've only had one student in my 15 years be fired without me knowing what was going on. Because it should never get that far. If a student's having a problem at the school, at work, they need to come to me. If a mentor is having a problem with the student, they're gonna come to me. I'm that liaison. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna talk about everything. But if a student is fired, then they will get an automatic 0 for the employer evaluation that 9 weeks. They'll be put on a 9-week probation, and they only have 2 weeks to find employment. So in other words, if they get fired on the 1st, they've got 10 days, 10 school days so it'd probably be around the 13th. If they're not completely, if they don't have another job by that date, then they will be placed here at the school, either in ISS or in my room or sitting in the office if I'm gone or something like that. Until they can find a job. But they'll have 2 weeks to have release time, still looking for another job. But after that, they'll have to do it after school. If a student is laid off, the same thing happens. They have a 2-week grace period to find employment, but they won't get a 0 for an employer evaluation because, especially in these times right now, who knows what's going on with the economy. Changing jobs is not permitted without the permission of me. So in other words, if you are working at fast food place number 1 and you're having conflict and you go find fast food place number 2 and you switch jobs without letting me know, that is not acceptable. You have to let the teacher know prior to what's going on. Now, if you're having a really bad time at your location, I'm not expecting you to stay there forever and all that kind of good stuff. But that's what I'm there to do, is to talk things out with the student. At the conclusion of this video, all students are going to need to complete the Flipgrid introduction assignment that is located in the Google Classroom in the general information section at the top. Because I'm not going to see everybody this year, and I want to get to know the students' faces so that when I do go out and look for them at the job site, because that's something I do, is I go out periodically and check to see how your child is working at the work site. just to say hey. And um, I don't give them evaluations. I'm just like, how's it going, and all that kind of good stuff. But I want to get to know everybody. Another thing that we're going to be doing this year is, in the past, we always met once a month as a class to talk about the assignments and all that kind of stuff. So this year, year 2020, 2021, which is a lot of 20s in there. But anyway, 2021, this school year, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing Google Meets. But we'll probably do it the first school day of every month, just like I have in the past, except we won't meet in person. We will be meeting via Google Meets. So if a student has any questions whatsoever at any time about anything in work-based learning, come by and see me. There is no reason whatsoever to question things. I mean, and not know. Like I tell students all the time, don't ask each other, because they're not the ones grading it. If you've got a question, come ask me. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm here for. My door is always open. If I'm on campus, my lights are on, and come on in and see me. All right, so again, if you have any questions whatsoever, contact me at all these informations. I've got my cell phone down there. I've got the school email. I've got the school phone. Just please feel free to give me a call. And I can't wait for this year. It's going to be exciting. I've already been going virtual with most of my classes, and all my assignments have been online now for about 5 or 6 years. So that's nothing new for me. It may be something new for a lot of you. So if you're questioning things or you're confused, I'll be glad to help you in any way possible. Can't wait for this year. It's going to be a great year. If anybody has any questions, give me a call. Thank you.